customer's clerical waistcoat and I ran into some trouble on the mannequin. As you can see, it's having a lot of trouble right in front of the throat where the front button would be. You can see it bubbling out, which would look horrible on the customer. I needed to figure out why, so I did a little bit of experimentation. I smoothed the piece back from the throat back over to the shoulder area and temporarily pinned the extra fabric in place, as you can see here. Once I was satisfied that this was the locality of the fault, I went ahead and unpinned it, and then I took out the basting from the shoulder seam and smoothed the cloth back along the shoulder seam and pinned it in place. And sure enough, that's exactly what was wrong. The angle of the shoulder seam was way off. So now I have this problem with the fabric not matching by an inch. So I had to determine why this happened, and I realized that when I decided to make the front waist dart, I forgot to change the angle of the armhole, or the arm side, forward a bit. As per this diagram on the Modern Tailor Outfitter and Cutter Volume 1, when you make a front dart, you adjust by slashing a line through on the pattern up to the chest prominence area, and then make another slash here at the arm side. You change the angle of the pattern by the amount that you've taken out of the waist dart. If you don't do this, you're going to have the problem that I just ran into. So I'm going to demonstrate the importance that the front dart has, and the effect that it has on the neck point is actually what it's supposed to be called, so ignore that. Right here is the prominence of the chest, this area here. And this is the angle that the front dart is taking. And when you bring the dart in, the entire front area is going to move back and forth. It's going to essentially slide, right? So here's the blue line that shows the neutral point, and then here's where when I bring in the dart. An entire half of an inch, and that is about how far off I am on the shoulder seam. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of stretching on the fore part. Here, let me show you. So here's the section here. When I stretch this is going to come forward. Alright, well this is the fore part that I just stretched. It's upside down, of course, about 3/8 of an inch. And the amount of distance that it had an effect on was about 1/2 of an inch here on the top. Alright, so I made a gusset out of a piece of leftover canvas that I had that I used for the waistcoat itself. And I went ahead and wedged it a bit. I'm going to insert this by hand underneath the padding here. And that should take care of that issue with the canvas and make sure that, that it's strengthened. Alright, there we go. Now one last thing I am going to do, and that is I'm going to put a piece of wadding on top of the area that I made the cut, and the way I'm going to reinforce it down is I'm going to take just a small piece of fusible just for this one area, trim it down, lay it over, fuse it on. Here we go. I actually went all the way over to the edge of the canvas as well to make sure it's nice and secured on there on the edge. And I'm just going to take this, press it. And there we go. Nice and secure. It's a lot flatter than it would have been. For the other shoulder gusset, I realized I was doing it the hard way. What I did was I put a piece of fusible on top with the gusset piece underneath, fused everything together, and then I went ahead and did the cross stitch on top of it. Took me about 1/4 of the time. It does exactly the same job. Hello, yesterday I went ahead and stretched and put the gusset underneath the underarm area here, which points toward the prominence of the chest, which is this area here. And you can see the effect that it had. It definitely improved things a bit. It's not 100% accurate. What I'm going to do is bring in the shoulder seam a bit to make the armhole a little bit further in, because both of these have to be brought in other words, brought in like this. This is how they're going to be finished. So it's going to be about at the level of this inner line here. That's going to be the final contour. But it's a lot better. From the pictures that you just saw, These were really mismatched before, so it fixed things up tremendously.